Hey everybody, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this gorgeous dimensional card using some of the new release products. We're starting out with the Plumeria Rubra stamp, and I'm going to stamp this on a piece of 5x7 watercolor cardstock, and I'm using the black hybrid ink, which is great for watercoloring. So I'm going to make sure I get all of those beautiful little details stamped down onto my paper, and now I'm coming in with some watercolor pencils. Now the Plumeria Rubra flower is beautiful. If you have a chance, you should absolutely Google it and take a look at all of the different images. And I do that frequently when I am trying to decide how to color flowers. So the version that I found that I thought was very pretty has this lovely yellow like out branching from the center, but then all of the tips of the petals are white. In the very center, there's kind of an orangish yellow. So I'm going in here and I'm adding the center with an orangish color. And now I'm coming in and coloring my leaves with green. The nice thing here is that I've just used these three colors, and you could accomplish this with alcohol markers as well. So whatever your favorite coloring medium is. For me, I really just wanted to use some basic colors and get these watercolor pencils out and have some fun with them. Once I have my entire image colored, I'm going to go ahead and use some low tack tape to tape down the entire panel. There is a little bit of a break there where my image goes off of the cardstock, so just keep that in mind when you're taping things down. You still want to be able to access the areas that you're trying to paint. You could use a regular paintbrush here, or you can use a water brush, whichever you prefer. I recently picked up some paintbrushes and I've been trying them out. And I've just got a glass of clean water there. I'm dipping my paintbrush in the water, and then I'm starting from the tips of the petals and bringing the water in towards the center of the petal. This helps keep the edges lighter and the centers of the flowers darker. You can use as much or as little water as you would like depending on the type of look that you're going for. I wanted to keep the color pretty concentrated, so I did not put very much water down on my paper. Once I get all of the flowers colored, I'm then going to do the leaves with the same brush. And after I get all of my leaves painted, I'm going to come in with a fine detail brush, and I'm going to paint on the little buds that haven't opened yet. I'm just going to add a little bit of color along the lines of those buds so they're not just black and don't have any color. And once I get that done, I'm going to bring back my watercolor pencil here, and I'm going to go directly to the pencil with my paintbrush and some water. That's going to give me some really concentrated color, and I can go back in and shade my flowers and my leaves with that. This is a really easy way to add that extra bit of shading to add some more dimension to your image. I leave the tape on until my panel is completely dry, and now I'm going to be working with the Tile Montage 6x6 stencil to add some selective stenciling onto my panel. I have this nice yellowish green color, and you can see I'm not sticking my stencil down with any tape or anything like that. I'm just moving it around and very lightly adding my ink to the paper in just various areas in order to get kind of a sketchy vintage look here to the card. I'm even putting my stencil back down and adding a little bit more if I feel like there's too much white space. Once I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and use just what's left on my brush and run all the way around the card panel to add some additional vintagey vibes to the card. Once I'm done, I'm going to use the brand new 5x7 double stitched layering rectangle dies, and I'm going to be cutting out several different pieces on this card. I'm going to start out with the largest die, which is 5x7, and since it's the exact same size as my card, I'm just being careful to make sure I get my card panel taped right on there, so when I run it through I get that beautiful stitched pattern. Now before I run it through, I'm adding the next smallest die here, and I'm going to line it up so there's even space all the way around, and I'm going to tape these two dies together. I'm going to add one more, and this is what's going to give our card ultimately all of the dimension. This will make more sense as we go along. So once I get all three of these taped together, I'm going to go ahead and run the entire thing through my die cutting machine. And what I'm going to end up with is two frames that have the stitching and then a centerpiece. For my sentiment, I'm using the alphabet dies from the 5x7 double stitched rectangle dies. And these are great for creating your own sentiments. So I wanted my sentiment to say, "Hello, sunshine." I cut these out twice from black cardstock, and then I layered them up using some liquid adhesive. So I want my sentiment to kind of pop off the card. So I am using a piece of vellum here that I've cut down, and I am going to wrap it around that center piece that we cut out from our main watercolored panel. And I'm using some double-sided tape here, and that's what's going to hold my vellum in place. And then I can glue all of my letters down to the vellum with some liquid adhesive. So the vellum behind it is going to create kind of a shadow layer, essentially the same effect of what a shadow layer does. And it's going to make it so that the sentiment does not get lost on the card. So if you're ever having trouble with a sentiment, if you feel like it's getting lost on a card, try using a strip of vellum behind it, because what that does is it acts to kind of just dim the area behind the vellum. So now what I'm doing is I have cut out off camera two more of the same size panels in white cardstock, and I'm gluing my centerpiece on top of them. So I'm going to have three layers all together of this center cutout. And this again is going to make more sense once the final card gets put together, but this is what allows the card to have the layered dimension. The next piece, I'm doing the exact same thing. I cut out two of those pieces off camera. I'm gluing them together, and then I am going to glue my watercolor piece on top of there. So it's going to be the same size, but we cut the center out of the watercolor piece. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm making sure to get a nice amount of glue on this piece because I want everything to really be secured down, because that's what's going to help create the look that we're going for. We definitely don't want our paper popping up. Once that's had a chance to dry, I can go ahead and glue that center piece that we just layered up in the previous step. I can glue it to the inside there. My last piece of the watercolor panel, I'm going to glue directly to my card base. So I'm just going to make sure to get it nice and lined up. Again, this is a 5x7 card. So this piece is going to line up perfectly with a 5x7 card base. And you can see the watercolor paper is a little bit tricky. So you do want to make sure that you get a good amount of glue on there and that you give it ample time to dry. So now we can take the piece that we finished in the last step and we can glue that to the inside. This is going to give us a lovely tiered layering effect. I love how this looks when it's completely dry. Next, I'm going to come in and add some bling. I'm using the Iridescent Moonshine Sequin mix. I love these sequins. They're so pretty. And I'm just adding them to the center of a few select flowers. I'm not doing all of the flowers, just enough to add a little bit of shine to the card, but not go overboard. Well, I hope you guys picked up some tips and tricks today and that you enjoyed this tutorial. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that you can get notified of future videos. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon.